Hello and welcome to Positive Fandom. I am your host, and we're here today with Tom Jr. Jackson. How are you, Tom?
I am good. How are you?
I am doing great. I just want to make sure that I put a scroll at the bottom so that people know that. Let me just put down, I have to create a banner here so that people know that this is going to be a spoiler review for the Book of Boba Fett, season 1, episode 6. Spoilers. Oops, I'm misspelling spoilers. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, Tom. I have to say, let's see, Book of Boba Fett season 1. Yeah, that's it. It's the middle of the night.
hmm
And let's see, did it add it? It didn't. Oh, show. Okay. There we go. Obviously, Tom and I are here to talk about the Book of Boba Fett, season 1, episode 6. There will be spoilers. So if you have not seen this episode yet, please, just be aware that we are going to be talking it. We will have spoilers. So if you haven't seen it and you're like, oh, I want to see it, but just FYI. So Tom, we have Big Afford Entertainment. Hey, hi Big Afford. Yes, this episode was great. Norwegian Kryptonian, how are you tonight? Yes, hello. I agree. This
Well, good
episode was
morning.
great. What did you think, Tom? What did you think of the episode?
Well, I didn't know what the vibe was going into it. I was waiting to see how it would go through.
Mhm.
I thought,
Hi,
oh,
Dr.
maybe we'll
Plato.
get back.
Sorry.
Huh?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
thought maybe we were going to go back to Tatooine, which we did. And then I was surprised to see um, Timothy Oliphant back with the dealing with the Pikes. And I thought, okay, so this episode's going to take place on Tatooine. All right, that's fine. So we'll see Boba Fett again. That's what I thought. And then once that happened, that the episode took a turn, and we end up going to find Grogu.
Yeah. Tom, I would have bet $1,000,000 that we were not going to see Grogu in this episode. I thought they were going to hold it back. I thought that that was going to be for another season. I had no idea that that's what we were going to see. How about you? Were you surprised to see Grogu again?
I was surprised to see Grogu, but what really surprised me was R2D2.
Yes, R2 was there. And like he was holding down the fort for Din. Norwegian Kryptonian says, did you see Boba Fett's cameo? Yeah, we saw our cameo. This is I have to say that for me, I was surprised once again where we saw Boba Fett, but we didn't really see a lot from him in this episode. And I was very surprised by that. But Tom, there's so much to talk about with this episode. There's so
Yeah,
much to talk about. Um, I have to say that uh I was shocked that we saw Grogu and even more shocked that we saw Luke and we saw Ahsoka. Like it was,
yeah,
it was a lot of, Jedis in this one. um and we got these incredible scenes of Grogu pretty much training, like he's kind of there and absolutely adorable. Like he's still adorable. But the
right.
thing that most surprised me was that Luke was able to help him um, go ahead and remember Order 66.
Yes. And that surprised me, but what really surprised me was we were seeing the building of the school Luke was building, whereas in I think it's uh, the last the Last Jedi, where you see Luke talk about what happened, and you're seeing that being blown up and burnt down, and here you're seeing it being built by these spider robots.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could have ever imagined that we would even see that. There were so many surprises in this that I'm really just surprised at the direction. I mean, I knew we were going to see Grogu at some point again, but to see him this way, almost half the episode, or maybe more than half the episode featured, Grogu and Luke. We got those incredible flashback scenes, or kind of like an ode to the Yoda parts where he puts Grogu in the backpack.
Yeah. One thing that I noticed about this episode is that, yeah, it was very heavy on Grogu, but it was going back and forth between Grogu, the Mandalorian, and then a little bit into Boba Fett, which means when you see that scene where Boba Fett is there with all the people around him, it's that Magnificent Seven vibe that you get where, okay, we got all these people here, we're going to take down these people, and they're like, all right, we only have this many people, we need to get these people, and the whole episode had so much sensory overload in it.
Yes.
But in a way, it's building up to something very big. The way that they're leading up to it. So in a way, it almost makes you think: are they going to get more help than they're expecting? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going a million miles an hour here. I'm like jumping here and there, so please
It's
excuse
okay.
me. The scene in the desert, I thought that was Luke walking towards the city, and apparently it wasn't Luke. It was a character we were all hoping that would show up at one point, but I didn't think it would actually happen. Because the way that what's his name? Cad Bane? Is that it?
Yeah, and he looked great. I think the makeup they did for Cad Bane, he looks very real.
Yeah.
Everybody said,
I've always thought that character would be hard to put into live action.
Yeah, it was not easy to do that. They did a great job. He looked very real. He looked very ominous. The voice was spot on. Oops, sorry. It's my the timer on my TV. Efren Guzman, hello, says RM and the legendary Tom Jr. Jackson. This episode was epic. Icing on the cake, Han Solo next week. I have to say, my mind is blown by all of these things. I'm almost speechless, but that's not true. I'm going to talk.
Well, this episode made me go into asking myself a few questions, and I ended up having to look them up. Mm-hmm. What is the time frame between The Force Awakens and the Book of Boba Fett? You got a good 25 years there.
Right, before the Force Awakens.
Right, before the Force Awakens. So between Boba Fett and the Force Awakens, you've got a good 25 years going through there of they can do anything in between that. So now you're just seeing the beginning of Luke's training with Grogu, the beginning of his school.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to see Ahsoka, but I think this episode must have been a branching out point. So now we're gonna, in a way, we're still doing Boba Fett, but we're gonna get the Mandalorian in there, and while we're at it, let's get in Ahsoka. So we know that that's going to branch out into something else. So they're putting all their ducks in a row for a reason here.
Yeah, and TK592 says that it's an epic episode, but not what I wanted from the Book of Boba Fett. And I have to say, I kind of agree with you on that. This is not what I thought we were going to be getting. It's not what I wanted to see from Boba Fett. And I had actually predicted, personally, that it's like, how do you go ahead and bring excitement to the episode? And for me, I had said, oh, I wonder if they're going to and you probably remember this, Tom, or maybe I didn't say it on the channel here, but it's like, what do they do? What do the Pikes do to attack? Like, where would they bomb? And I thought they would bomb the palace, and that Boba would be with Garza Fwip at the sanctuary. And it was actually the reverse. They bombed the sanctuary. And I wasn't expecting them to bomb the sanctuary.
No, I don't think anybody was. And then
it's Chicago style.
Well, when I first saw them coming in there with the the bucket, I'm like, oh no, I
Mhm.
think I know where this is going. And so I think,
I didn't
and
know.
I had a feeling because in a way, that ending to the episode was very much Godfather-like in a way, where okay, now we're gonna go in and we're gonna take these people out, and we're gonna take these people out, and just setting up an intense, a lot of tension. So you don't know where that next week's season finale episode is gonna go now. And I think one of the cool things about this show, and this is just my opinion, no one has to agree with it. I need to say that before I get a ton of people yelling at me. Um, is that you don't know where the show is going. You have no idea what the plan is, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of diversions. It's a
It
lot of
really
diversions,
it
and that
really has
is
been
something you don't.
unpredictable, Tom, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's very much diversions here and there. It's like when you do magic, you got the one hand here. You pay attention to this hand, and then this hand is doing everything that you don't know about yet.
Yeah.
Once next week comes out, all the cards are going to be laid on the table. Something big is going to go down. And I was actually talking to Catherine earlier tonight, and she goes, maybe, um, there's not, you can't do an entire episode where you're going to put everything out on the line. And I said, well, it probably could spill into season 3 of The Mandalorian. But then I had a thought. I didn't bring this up to her. Is that I think next week is going to be a very long episode,
Mhm.
almost like
Movie length, movie feature length.
exactly, and we're going to get something really special.
Oh my god.
And I have, and as the episode ended, you have Luke telling Grogu, if you take the gift from the Mandalorian, you have to go back with him. You take um, the
The
lightsaber,
lightsaber. Mhm.
and you stay here with me. And part of me is saying is if Grogu takes that chainmail and goes back to the Mandalorian, will Luke end up meeting with Boba Fett? And if so, how is that going to go down?
Yeah, it's a good question. A lot of people have asked that. Darth Plato says that it's a Chicago hit, and TK592 says Tamora deserves better. To be honest, I grew up with the prequels, and he was my favorite. They didn't, they did him wrong. I guess this was his series to shine in. And Darth Plato says, I think this episode indicates that the sequel timeline has been averted. Maybe, who knows? But what I can say, Tom, to add to what you're saying, I think when we know Grogu was going to go with the Mandalorian because when Luke helped him remember what happened at the temple and we saw Order 66, Grogu was terrified. And he doesn't, I think he associates, I don't know for certain, but I feel that he associates the lightsabers with that Order 66 thing. And also, Luke was very clear to Ahsoka that all he was doing was helping Grogu remember his training.
Right.
Grogu had been trained for like 20 years. He
Well,
probably had,
actually, he said, "Do you remember where you came from?" And he goes, "Here, let me help you remember." And I don't think Luke truly understands what he saw. That would have been something if Luke were to, because if Luke were to have seen that,
yeah, it's PTSD. Grogu
yeah,
has PTSD.
and it's very sad, and it's funny because that's a theme that's running through this episode. For a while there, Boba Fett had it, or maybe still does. Grogu has it. I think that if Grogu does go back with Din and Luke goes with him at some point, Mando's going to try to recruit him into helping, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And also, I was surprised that they brought Mark Hamill back. And that's one thing you have to say about this show. They keep those secrets really, really well. Like some people, like, yeah, well, maybe Luke will come back, but people thought, well, it'll be Sebastian Stan as Luke. No, and this time the de-aging was a bit better than last time.
Well, that's because they hired that kid from the YouTube
Yeah,
deep fake. Thank you, whoever you are out there, for the deep fakes. You know something, Tom? This particular episode did something that I never thought that I personally would feel torn between. I mean, I know it's Grogu's choice, but it's making me feel like I have to choose between Luke, who I love. It's like I love that man, and
right.
between Din Djarin. Like, I don't want to choose between them. I want both of them. So this
Well,
is very hard.
and it's very hard. And also,
Hey, Loco Lou. Hey, Loco
what
Lou.
is
How are you?
what is the character that Timothy Olyphant was playing? What is his name?
His name
That
is his name is Cobb Vanth.
yeah, Cobb Van.
Yes, Cobb
Yeah,
Vanth.
right.
Yeah.
So he was thinking about. I think what he was going to do is put a vote up to it. Do we help him or do we not help him? And now that Cad Bane has struck down this guy, I think they're going to help out Mando now because this guy has now brought the fight to them. They not only this guy has not only killed their sheriff but their deputy, and I love how it went from being something about the Jedi to a western. I mean, this show has all different genres. It has a bit of the Seven Samurai type vibe, Magnificent Seven vibe. It's got the Jedi vibe. It has a western vibe. It's going
Yeah.
everywhere. So also, what I noticed is that the Black Wookiee, Black K,
Yeah.
because I can't pronounce his name, and I'm sorry if I can't, folks. He was there with them when they were making the plans. You know, when they were finding out what the deal was with everything. So, like I said, I think I even predicted this. I think they're going to bring him back. It is a very much Magnificent Seven Samurai type vibe, and I really think that taking from all these little pieces, it's just what George Lucas did with some of the fighting with the X-wings and stuff like that. He took them from the old um, World War II films and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's how he incorporated it. So everybody is taking a little bit of that. They're taking a little bit of what they know, like Seven Samurai or The Man with No Name, all that stuff.
Oh my gosh, Darth, first of all, Loco Lou has joined us. Hi, Loco Lou. How are you? He says the episode was good. It was a 10 out of 10. And TK592 reminds us it's Cobb Van. Thank you. He was lucky that the deputy was there to take all the shots. Loco Lou says the Freetown is going to stay free, and it's Chrysanthemum. I just say Black K. Darth Plato says, I'm calling it something will happen where Grogu won't need to make the choice. Tom, what did you think about the fact that Din questions Ahsoka and he's like, why didn't you train Grogu? You know, like it was like
Right. And in a way, that was the question he was asking her the last time he saw her.
mm-hmm.
And she didn't answer him. And then this time when he asked her, she told him, well, he had a choice. And his choice was not me.
Mm-hmm.
But then she did say to him, look, you could go see him, but he is very much he very much misses you, but it'll be very hard for him to continue his training if he sees you.
I also think that if he saw Din, that Grogu couldn't make a choice properly because he would be like, I've got to go with Din. Like this is,
Right. And
you know,
and
it's like,
yeah, it's like here. So I'm gonna show you your kids and you can take $1 million. Which one do you pick? You know, it's a Sophie's choice for Grogu.
yeah, it was. Oh my God. It was a difficult choice. And God, why did they leave the episode to end like that? Poor Grogu was like,
Yeah,
he
but
was like,
I have to say that the fact that Luke brought up Yoda and the way Yoda talked, and you could just see that look on Grogu's face, like as if he kind of remembered Yoda, but you know what I mean, in a
Yes.
way. But seeing that scene of Grogu remembering what happened, just that broke my heart. But then, as someone in the chat had said, they were waiting to see Anakin. If Anakin would have been part of that,
Yeah.
I'm surprised. So maybe what it was at that time, Anakin was at the Jedi Temple. He sent the clone troopers after the other Jedi, and because if we would have saw Anakin,
I think that would have been, I think the internet would have broken.
the internet would have broken, Twitter would have went down, it would have been
Yeah.
disaster.
And it would have been like, Anakin is in the Book of Boba Fett episode 6. I think I would have just been like, oh my God. And of course it would have been played by Hayden Christensen, who I
Yeah,
love. That would have been insane. I think I probably would have just lost it.
but I did love the fact that, okay, yes, this episode has, as uh, Scott Richardson from the Phantasmagorium show would say, jangly keys. We're going to just jangle some keys in front of you. So we're going to bring out Luke. We're going to bring out Cad Bane. We're going to bring out all these people and people you're surprised to see. But I think we needed that for a reason. Is that, as I said, they're going to set something up like they did when they blew up the cantina.
Yes.
And that's the end of that band. That
Why
band's
did they
contract is
have,
canceled.
do you think, and this is not that important, but do you think Max Rebo survived? Because I didn't see him in the sanctuary when they brought in the bomb. So I'm thinking maybe Max Rebo might have survived. What do you think?
Could have been his night off. Day off, night
Local
off.
says that this is all prep for the new series that no one is talking about, and that's Mandalore. No announcements. There is so many hints in the series. A lot of people are missing. And TK592 says, but perhaps this mindset is where the eventual downfall of Luke's academy came from. And Max, he goes on to say, Max was doing a private gig that day. Max Rebo. Darth Plato says, Luke giving Grogu the ultimatum sounds almost hypocritical. Apparently, he stays in touch with Han and Leia. Yeah, it does feel that way. I think something that I also loved, Tom, was that Luke made it very clear to Grogu that if you stay here, the Mandalorian will live his life and die, and you won't ever see him again. Grogu's like, screw that. I'm going to go with the Mandalorian. Grogu can always come back to his training if he wants to, as far as I'm concerned, because he lives 900 years.
But who does that sound like? I can go back to my training whenever I feel like it.
Oh, you mean it sounds like Luke? It sounds like something Luke would say. So,
And I think Luke sees himself.
Oh, wow. I hadn't thought about that either. I had not thought about it that way, Tom.
Because think of it. Luke was worried about Han and Leia. And he said, I gotta go. My friends need me. And they were like, no, you need to stay. I promise I will come back.
And he did.
And he did. But then they said, no more training for you. You have all the training you need, which means that he got it the hard way. He went and took it the long way around, as some people would say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, honestly, I think this was an episode that was basically meant to set up Ahsoka, season 3 of The Mandalorian, and
this Mandalore series that Loco Lou might be talking about.
Right.
Loco Lou says, Max Rebo never dies, he multiplies. TK592 says it's apparent that Luke is not the teacher we thought he would be. And Dwayne Olson, hi Dwayne, and welcome. He says, and here I thought I was the one who never slept. Dwayne, Tom and I are really tired. Darth Plato is asking, when will Grogu speak? Tom, when will Grogu speak?
If excuse me, if something happens to Din, I think we might hear some words come out of Grogu. And because I think really it's, as you said, the PTSD
I
that's
know, his
stopping
little
him.
eyes seeing all the horror.
I know it just,
Sorry.
it was something else there. It was very much.
Thank you, Darth Plato. Yes, guys, please hit the like button.
Yeah, hit the like and the subscribe button if you haven't done that yet.
Guys, thank you so much. And Tom, I can't thank you enough for being a collaborator on the channel, for being a mod on the channel, for like doing everything else in the channel, for coming onto the channel, talking all the time, you know, being so kind to everybody in the chat as you normally are. Thank you, everybody, for showing up and just letting us enjoy this moment. And Tom, I admit I'm like super hyper excited right now.
Yeah,
So,
and probably in about an hour or so, the hyperactivity is gonna go bam.
yeah, it's going
but
to. What did you think
but
about all the jumping scenes when Grogu was like,
yes, and Grogu was like, I've had enough of this, and just uses the force and breaks it. He's like, I've had
yeah,
enough of this.
like,
Thank you.
but you know something, the fact that he did that, Tom, makes me think that that's not the first time he's done that. I
Yeah,
think that Grogu has been training with this. I think it's like what Luke said. I'm just bringing back stuff that he already knew. And I have a feeling that Grogu did complete his training.
yeah.
But this might have, you know, the Order 66 was like the thing, seeing his little eyes, looking and seeing everything that was happening. No wonder he blocked that out. No wonder he didn't want to go back to thinking about
Well,
that
can
because,
we stop for a moment and discuss when we
yes,
first see Grogu and Luke and they're like meditating, becoming one with the Force, and Grogu just looks
yes.
over at the frog and sees it going by, and then brings it over to him, and Luke goes, Grogu. And then when Luke brings up all the frogs, it reminded me of the scene where um, Luke was supposed to bring up the speeder, not the speeder, the ship,
X-Wing. Mm-hmm.
the X-wing,
Mm-hmm.
and then Yoda had to do it, and so it was kind of like a reverse there, where Luke brought up all those frogs, and Grogu's like, oh, so it was starting to come back to him in a way. You could see the wheel starting to spin just a little bit, but this episode had it all in it. And yeah, and some people, God Plato, I was looking for a frog lady there. Yeah, that would have been something.
Yeah.
But I have to say, this episode had it all. And yeah, some people were not expecting it to go the way it did. But as I said before, it was setting things in motion, setting up the big fight they're gonna have on Tatooine. It's setting up. Okay, what is Grogu gonna do? Is he gonna continue to become a Jedi? And if so, if he doesn't, is this the reason why we haven't heard from him yet in the sequels? Because he would have been part of that with Luke in a way. So unless something happened with that, and what's his name, Kylo Ren got at him, but you know, I don't want to go there thinking that. So it's like you got 25 years in between these two things to do anything you want and set anything up. And I'm sure whatever they're going to do is they're going to set things up in a way that'll make you, when you watch those sequels, go, oh, okay, that's why that's this way. That's why this is that. So maybe they're correcting things just a bit to make things make sense. And that could be it. I could be wrong.
No, I think you make a good point. Loco Lou says this series is a curveball to the fans, and we weren't ready for it. It's true, we were not ready for this. You know what, Tom? I wasn't ready for when Luke asked Ahsoka, "Will I see you again?" It was kind of like when someone breaks up. Like it sounded like a breakup. It didn't sound like you are a Jedi Master and I'm speaking to another Jedi Master. It sounded like, so are we ever going to see each other again, or is this like it?
And when she brought up his father, just like your father.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. And Luke is in a sense already knows what happened to his dad because, as you know, R2D2 is the historian and R2 has already showed Luke what had happened, like let's say in the past. So Luke knows everything. Like R2 recorded everything.
Right. And
So
so it makes you want, because so if R2 is there, then that must mean that 3PO is with Leia.
yeah. Yeah, maybe.
But
Yes.
it was revealed a few days ago that Anthony Daniels is doing something as 3CPO, 3PO, I should say. But yeah, he some mysterious Star Wars project, so it could be for the droid show that's coming out.
I hope so.
Yeah, and this time he's wearing a motion capture suit because I think he's like, I'm too old to get in that suit. Let's do it like everybody else does it. But
Um,
yeah, Grogu is
Toffee, I'm sorry.
Grogu is let's see here. See, when they found him, he's 50. He's 50. So he's probably
Yes.
50 if a year has passed. I don't know. 50, yeah, about 50.
Mm-hmm. And Toffee 20 says episode 6 was straight up bizarre. Luke creeped me out. Oh. Loco Lou says I get Daredevil and Elektra vibes from those two. And I'm assuming he's meaning Luke and Ahsoka. It did feel like a very odd romantic romance in the force, if you could call it that. Darth Plato says, good call on 3PO, Tom. And
Yeah.
he also says Grogu is how old now? I think it's safe to say that Grogu has broken the record for the world's oldest baby, perhaps held by The Simpsons. Toffee 20 says, loved Cad Bane's Clint Eastwood impression. That's what you said,
Yeah.
Tom. And at TK592 says he wanted to show Grogu his world or family, and instead he triggered his PTSD. And I think that PTSD, TK592, is going to be one of the major reasons why Grogu rejects the lightsaber.
Mhm.
And Loco Lu says he's 50 and not much time has passed. So I personally think that if he hadn't seen that flashback of
He
it,
would have stayed with Luke.
that's what he was blocking because his little eyes, he was so sweet, poor little
And
Grogu.
then Luke's like, welcome back.
He had it was like a traumatic flat, I'm not going to say flashback, but it was a memory that he had that
Right.
really hurt Grogu to even think about. Like he wanted to forget all this stuff. We knew he was there during Order 66. We knew that. We saw 3 Jedi pretty much protecting him, and Grogu was just like, just stunned, just like any other youngling, or because he'd have to be a youngling, I think,
No,
maybe a Padawan at that point, but it was a lot for his little heart to bear.
it makes me wonder if we're going to see who saved him.
Yes, I know. I thought that's what they were going to show us, Tom. I thought that's what we were going to see
And
in
I
that
know
scene.
it wasn't Ahsoka because she wasn't there.
Right.
So it had to have been, and it wasn't Obi-Wan, or it could have. Ooh, now there's something. What if it was Obi-Wan? Then you're setting up the Obi-Wan series. But if
Yeah.
it was, but then again, wait, Obi-Wan was with Anakin.
Hmm.
Oh wait, no. So this may have been before. Now I'm trying to think here. Um,
Obi-Wan was on Coruscant, I think, at the time, or near Coruscant.
timeline wise, I'm saying, what if they've already slaughtered the children and Anakin has gotten out of there and has gone to Mustafar. So Obi-Wan has come back. He has seen what happened, and now he has to go and find Anakin.
Well,
So
Darth, um,
all the other stuff that's going on there with Grogu and the three Jedi, that must have been while they were off planet. The others were off planet. So you know what? I'm telling you, the show, it just throws you for loops, and it makes you go, okay, so when did this happen? And
mhm.
that's the great thing about Star Wars, is that no matter what, you think you're going to get away from something. You may want new characters, you'll get them, but then you'll get a little piece that'll be like, yeah, but this happened. And this
Well,
little piece may have a big impact on that. You know what I mean?
Well, TK 592 says he feels like the Order 66 has always been on Grogu's mind, and that they mentioned him holding it back in seasons 1 and 2. And it says Tom mentioned the meditation scene, and I remember thinking that Grogu doesn't seem to be all in the Jedi way anymore. Dwayne Olson says he thinks it's Bail Organa who may have saved Grogu. Darth Plato says Obi-Wan was on Utapau. And TK592 says, I think they are definitely retconning Mace, who will save Grogu. And what does he say? I can't do any work after these shows drop. Toffee 20. And Loco Lou says that Grogu and Din have a father-son relationship that was forged in battle. And Grogu was always safe with Din and his comrades. So that's very interesting, Tom. I also wanted to mention that seeing Cobb Vanth again was great, but I don't like that he ended up getting kind of shot up like that, because he's a good guy, and when Cad Bane tells him, you should have had that armor, you should have kept that armor. You knew that Cad Bane was going to try and kill him, and that was very hard to accept. But when we first started streaming tonight, you talked about the way Cad Bane looked. I think he looked real. Like, he looks
Yeah,
real.
they did an amazing job with him, which
Yes.
which goes to show now they can bring back any character they want now, and they really can do a great job. And I forgot who it was that said Luke kind of freaked them out. The thing with Luke is that they got some guy from YouTube, some fan who fixed the deep fake, and they saw that and they hired the guy, and that's why his face looked a little bit better than it did last time.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, we we're so lucky to have these series and stuff come out even at all. I mean, for all we know, it could have been, well, we're gonna buy Star Wars. I'm not gonna do anything with it. We just want it, and we'll just keep whatever we have going with it. And they didn't have to do those sequels or the shows. So even though some of the things may not be pleasing to some people, remember, we're getting Star Wars no matter what. I mean, yeah, maybe you may not like how Disney's doing it, but you're getting Star Wars, and be lucky that we live in an age where they can now bring characters that were on animated shows that we all loved into the real world, as so to speak. And it's something that, had we not had the technology, we'd be, seeing people with foam latex and all that stuff on, and it would look cool, but it wouldn't look right. So I think really what we have is something special. And this episode was very much something special. And I'm thinking next week, as you said, I think it's going to be a movie-sized episode, probably an hour, maybe an hour and a half. If it's an hour and a half, that'd be great. It'll probably be an hour long, I think, maybe 50 minutes. And we're going to see everything just drop. Like that shoe is going to drop, and we're going to see that town, Freetown, fight with Boba Fett, and we're going to see, everyone come together and try to get to the Pikes. We're going to find out why the the mayor was behind what he was doing, I think. And even if it doesn't come to a full conclusion at the end, I have a feeling it might slip into season 3 of The Mandalorian, which I think the main goal for that show towards the end of it will be him going to Mandalore. So no matter
Oh,
what,
yes.
no
Yeah.
matter what for season 3, I think the storyline is him trying to get to Mandalore and re-up his status, as they would say, I guess.
Well, Toffee 20 and Loco Lou both are looking forward to the Hot Toys Cad Bane. I don't know whether there has actually been a 1/6 scale figure of Cad Bane before, but this Hot Toys one is going to look unbelievable. And thank you, Loco Lou, for asking everybody to hit the like button to show your support for the Empire. And Darth Plato says all roads lead to Thrawn. TK 592 says, I just don't see Grogu being saved by some random or new character. They'll go for nostalgia. So it will probably be someone, that we know. I honestly didn't think we were going to get Grogu back in this episode. I thought it was going to be season 3 of The Mandalorian. Maybe halfway through the season, we'd see Grogu again. And that would be the end of that. But I was very surprised to see Grogu so soon, and it makes me think that he's going to play a major role in the end of this show.
Yeah, I
I
think
was not expecting that, Tom.
no. And like I said, this is a show that no one's expecting. As a matter of fact, something that if we could go back to episode 1 for just
Yes,
a
we
moment,
can.
there was a show called Parks and Rec, and the comedian Patton Oswalt did a rant about how Disney at one point was going to buy all of Marvel, all of Star Wars, and there's going to be a huge crossover. And he begins his rant with the exact way we see Boba Fett come out of the Sarlacc pit. Literally, word for word, they took what he said, and there are some videos where they have him doing his rant, and you see that scene where Boba Fett comes out of the sand and whatnot, and it's amazing. So, like, this show, you don't know what you're gonna get. You don't know what to expect. It may not go the way you want, but there's a reason for that. There's a reason for everything that they're doing on this show. And like I said before, it's all a distraction from the real plan. Like, I really do think that Boba Fett has a plan, and he's holding those cards close to his chest, and he's maybe letting out a little bit. Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. But why are we doing this? We're just gonna do it, and you don't need to know the rest. And when we see it next week, those cards are gonna come down, and I think we're gonna get a really good fight next week. I
Now,
think it's gonna be a good battle.
something that keeps crossing my mind is, of course, the fact that there has been a Mandalorian Jedi before. And this Mandalorian Jedi, he's famous. I think his name is Tar Vizsla. And he used the dark saber to unite his people, and he was an extraordinary person. And I haven't heard of any other Mandalorian Jedis, but for all practical purposes, if he was a Mandalorian Jedi, then maybe 1,000 years ago, or however long he lived before, the process of becoming a Jedi and then maybe going back to Mandalore wasn't something that might have been looked down upon, or maybe it was. I have no idea how it would have worked back then, but it has happened before, and he's had such a huge impact on the Mandalorians because of the Darksaber, and I guess maybe the way that he led. But I think that Grogu is going to be following in those footsteps, not as a leader of Mandalore, but just kind of like being a Mandalorian, because as far as Din is concerned, Grogu was and will always be a Mandalorian to him. He's a
Right.
foundling, and he's like, well, this is how we roll. We care about each other. I'm always going to look out for him. I don't care if he's a Jedi now. He's always going to be a foundling, and I'm always going to look out for my foundling. Here it says, Loco Lu says, the Book of Boba is like the Godfather mixed with the Seven Samurai, like what you said, Tom. And Dwayne Oldson says, the long-term plan. Fett isn't playing for Crime Lord. He's playing for Baron of Tatooine, Senator Fett of the Newer Republic Senate. I could
Yeah.
see him going higher.
And the way you say that, Baron of Tatooine, this show is very much as close to Dune as you're gonna get with the spice. And I have to say that, Dune came first. And so you actually, this show, you're seeing the influences that Dune has had on Star Wars. Yeah. And a lot of people, younger people, are like, look, they stole from, look at Dune stole from Star Wars. No. Dune came first, my friends. Dune came first. And I think this show has a little bit of the Seven Samurai, a little bit of Magnificent Seven, a little bit of Jedi mixed in with it, along with some Dune. So who knows? Maybe at some point we'll find out what they do with that spice. For all we know,
Yeah,
they could even do a whole show about spice runners and the
that would
Mandalore.
be a great show.
Yeah, and the Mandalore show. It could be anything from dealing with who's going to be in charge of Mandalore or to the Night of a Thousand Tears. We might see that. I mean, there's tons and tons of ways we can go with this. And everybody goes, yeah, but we should do something new. We should have new characters. But every time you see one of these shows and they bring something up, you're like, I could see a show of them doing this, and this. They're always putting ideas into your head of, well, this could be better, and this could go here, and this could go there, and I'd watch it. I would watch that Spice Runner show. I would watch the Mandalore show.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Darth Plato says in the Knights of the Old Republic game,
Yeah.
it says, I think it's Kotar, from what I know. The Mandalorian leadership was indicated by who wore Mandalore's helmet. The dark saber serves that purpose now. And Norwegian Kryptonian says, have spice ever been a thing in Star Wars? And the answer to that is yes.
Yes. If you watch it, I believe it's Han Solo. Well, how
Yes,
can
and
you be a
spice,
spice runner who drops their shipment at the
yes.
last minute?
And spice is sold like a normal product all throughout the galaxy, and it can be used to power engines and do all sorts of stuff. And there is a legal sale of spice in the galaxy, but I think that the spice sales that the Pikes are involved in might be illegal sales, but I'm not entirely sure of that. And here it says, Dwayne Olson says, go back to those early test shots of Hamill and Ford with the spice lines for Star Wars 77, even more Dune than the actual movie. And that is correct. And
Darth Plato actually brought up a good question. The only unanswered question right now is, why was the Pike strongbox filled with sand?
No, it was filled with spice.
That was spice?
Yeah, that was spice. Wasn't it? Does
Look
anybody know this answer? Darth Plato says it wasn't sand, it was spice.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, actually, never mind.
What I want to know is, why did Cobb Vanth open it up and let it blow in the wind? Like, it just shows that they don't want that spice trading on Tatooine, but why? Why don't they want spice trading on Tatooine? Are they doing, is it an illegal function there? Are there like authorized spice dealers?
I think it's because you're going to invite even worse people onto the planet.
Okay.
And then you're going to have more gangs and more violence.
But spice is legally sold throughout the galaxy. This is the thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around, is it must be an illegal spice distribution that they're doing. Maybe someone would know. Oh, TK592 says they should have shown the effect of spice on the community. Yeah, they could have done that. But that's something that I've been asking all along is, you know, while I do understand, while I do understand that the spice is desirable and they want to go ahead, yeah, spice is legal. TK592, I've asked other Star Wars experts, and they said that it's sold throughout the galaxy. It's not an illegal substance. So that's my question all along: is if it is legal, what's the story with it? Kind of like the distribution on Tatooine. Why was it so important for Tatooine to be that distribution place? And Darth Plato says it probably has something to do with Tatooine's possibly proximity to Kessel. Okay.
That could be it. And now I want to watch Solo and figure that out.
Yeah,
You see,
yeah.
that's the great thing about the show. It brings up questions, and it's like, oh, well, this, and this. I wonder. They know what they're doing. People are like, oh, these people don't know what they're doing with the show. I think they do know, and I think that they're building it up in such a way that they want you to be confused. I think it's deliberately. They're deliberately confusing people.
Yes.
And I think that's a good thing, because who wants to watch a show if someone guesses it at the last minute, guesses it before it even ends, and then you're like, well, what's the point in watching it now?
Well, it says here that the Pike Syndicate would use raw spice to create a powerful drug that Supreme Chancellor Finis Valorum sent to Jedi Master Sifo-Dyas to investigate. So maybe they're using it in illegal ways, and they don't like that. But I've been told that spice is sold throughout the galaxy. It's not an illegal thing. You can go and buy spice. But I guess there is a way that you can manipulate it, kind of like how you can, like a meth lab, you can take things and make them more powerful. And TK592 says, are we sure it's legal? Something, this is a good point. What if at this point, and I don't know for sure, that some point it is illegal on Tatooine? What if it's illegal to have it on Tatooine? I don't know. Does anybody know?
Well, Tatooine, you don't really see the Empire really go there until R2D2 and C3PO end up there. And
Right.
And actually, if you want to go back even further, no one goes there till and meet up with Anakin when he's a kid. You have Darth Maul go there, but really, you don't. All these are good questions, and it just brings up more and more questions. Like just when you think you got it, well, wait, what about this?
Yeah, I mean,
It's a cool thing, though. I mean, and look at it, like we got to see how Luke is training someone. We got to see the building of his version of the Jedi Temple. Then you see R2D2 shut himself down, which makes you wonder: did R2 shut himself down at some point, like during the Force Awakens? Because he must have, so that no one knew where Luke was. So he shut himself down.
Well, yeah. I also wanted to mention that I did find an article on CBR that says Star Wars, what spice is and why it's so dangerous. And it says Star Wars elusive substance spice can be used for good. However, its users can face dire consequences. And here, like they're very clear, that it's a catch-all trade number or a way to say that it's for a number of illegal substances. But when I've spoken to other people who know the lore, they say that spice you can buy it legally. So, this is a good question about it. And obviously, whatever spice they're trading on Tatooine is illegal, isn't it, Tom?
Probably, but also it makes you wonder if spice is legal, why does Han Solo smuggle it?
Yeah, it's a good question. So this is something that I guess we'll find an answer to, or someone will find an answer to, um, at some point. I've asked several Star Wars historians, and they've said it's a legal substance. So, and it's sold throughout the galaxy, and you can buy it. It's really readily available. Um, they said that some of the variants effects are described that are bad. So, and it can be addictive, but perhaps there's many different types that are, not as potent.
Yeah,
Um,
and Mark O'Brien is in the chat and said, "Wow, tied up all the trilogies." This show is doing that. It is
yeah.
bringing all the trilogies together. It's yeah, that's a really good point there. You know,
Oh, yeah. It says that it enhances a person's telepathic abilities, and we saw that in this season when one of the Tusken Raiders blew some of the spice into Boba Fett's face, which I've never seen before. Maybe it's the first time I've ever seen anybody actually use the spice, and I'm not surprised that they use it because it was for a vision quest. But yeah. Apparently the running spice was illegal, and that's what from here it says that's what Han was doing. But maybe it says in can it says sorry, in general it's a dangerous narcotic, and it's almost always a product of slave labor valued by deadly cartels. So maybe we'll get a little bit more information about it at some point. It has actually, I guess if it's illegal now, it's been illegal at some points, depending upon its potency versus other things. But it is something to talk about. And it seemed really important to the Pikes because that's how the episode starts, right, Tom? Where we see a bunch of them in a Land Cruiser, and they're moving it around Tatooine. Um,
yeah,
easily, and it doesn't really seem like anybody is watching them. Here it says Mark O'Brien says oh yeah, Loco Lou says R2D2 is a very smart droid and will do anything and everything to keep his records and avoid confrontation. And Mark O'Brien says the Filoniverse is becoming the true appendices to the OT Tolkien style, which Filoni loves. And he says, sorry, Mandoverse is becoming the apprentice to the OT.
that
Thank you
is.
for the clarification, Mark O'Brien. So honestly, Tom, what do you predict happening in the season finale for season 1 of the Book of Boba Fett?
You know, I'm gonna make a guess, and even if it doesn't, I would be surprised if what I'm about to say even comes true. But I think we're going to see a big battle. That I know will be true. I have a feeling that Grogu is going to end up going back with Mando. Luke is going to bring him back. Luke is going to end up helping them. I think Luke is going to notice Boba Fett. Or Boba Fett is going to sort of notice Luke and be like, where have I seen this guy before in a way? Um, I think we're going to see who exactly the syndicate is. We're going to find out who sent Cad Bane.
Well, we know who sent Cad Bane. That was the Pikes, don't we?
Maybe.
Because in the beginning of the episode, Cobb Vanth destroyed the spice that they were going to transport. So Cad Bane is there because of what Cobb Vanth had done earlier in the episode. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, and I think even more. I think we might, as Loco Lewis says, that's season 3. I think we might see Cad Bane in season 3 of The Mandalorian. I think a lot of this, I think a lot of Chapter 7 is going to bridge out to different episodes of uh, different shows all around the Mandoverse. I think that's what we're going to have to start calling it now is the Mandoverse.
Well,
And
there's a
I'm fine with it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm fine with that. And also, um, I think we'll probably see. Maybe we'll see Black K rip some people's arms off. Hopefully, it would be awesome. Because come on, we got to see that. But then again, if we do, if the rumors are true, and we end up with Han Solo in this, and he shows up with Chewie, who knows what will happen, if there'll be a fight between the two Wookiees, the Wookiees will work together. There's so many questions, so many possibilities. I think we're really going to get something special.
Well, Darth Plato says no. Cad Bane specifically mentions to Cobb not to join with Fett. And that was after the spice incident, yes. The opening was misdirection to hide that Cad was tipped by a spy in Fett's palace. Ooh. I know someone earlier had said something about possibly Fennec, double crossing Fett. And here, Loco Lou says that Thrawn was named in season 1 of Mando, so we could see something like that. It is so up in the air. There are
No,
so many
no, no,
unanswered
no.
questions.
Thrawn was mentioned in season 2 when Ahsoka showed up at that village and she was fighting that woman, and she goes, "Where's Thrawn? Where is your master?" I don't think I don't remember Thrawn being mentioned in season 1. I remember it in season 2.
I don't remember it, but I can't say for certain. Like I don't remember all the
Right.
conversations from one. And also, it says Cobb Vanth is alive, and he will pay one day or something like that. I have a feeling he is alive. Um, uh, Thrawn would imply the return of Ezra. Obviously, I hope so. Um, and everybody, pretty much a good portion of people from Rebels. Yeah, Loco Lu says, yes, you're right, it's 2. And it says Boba versus Cad standoff definitely happening. I thought it would be Din versus Boba, but I don't see that happening now. It seems like they're kind of like, have worked out things and they're friendly. But what I wanted to see was Boba challenged in for the lightsaber, but for the dark saber. But I don't think Boba needs it anymore from him. I think that he's just different from what I thought it was going to be, and we'll see what happens. But this fight, we've already seen Sanctuary blown up. And I'm sure that Boba and Fennec will be very upset when they find out what has happened. Um, how are they going to strike back against the Pikes? Because the Pikes they don't live on Tatooine, do they? I mean, they control it, but is there a big place where the Pikes inhabit? We already know the 3 families in the city that control things, but the Pikes were not mentioned as a section somewhere. Do they have an enclave that they would try and hit and attack? What do you think, Tom?
I'm trying to think here because I remember when we saw the ship where they get off. So I think there is. I think maybe they're hiding out in one of the 3 families places, or there's a place they have that no one knows about yet. Because they have to have a place there while they're staying on Tatooine. So I would say they're gonna find out where. That's gonna be one of the things. I mean, they just don't come down to Tatooine for the day, bring the spice, and then send all these people after Boba Fett for no reason. You know, I mean, sometimes it happens at night, sometimes it happens during the day. So they have to have a place somewhere on Tatooine. I mean, they were going after that train. So obviously, there has to be someplace on that train where that train is coming from, and they're on it. They
This
have
is
to have a
something that
place.
I thought so too, Tom.
Yeah. What if they kill off Boba? I've seen most of the OT characters have died.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And Fig Life says, I can't wait until Cobb is alive making his own new armor montage. Darth Plato says, I predict Luke will be taken out in the finale. Thrawn's the only guy big enough to pull that off. And does it make sense to do so without first making a move against Luke? Um, Mark O'Brien says Luke will put the call out to Carson, Wedge, Han, and Chewie. Carson will have be monitoring the Tatooine situation, and we see that they are. The Republic is in space around Tatooine, aren't they? Because we saw that when Din was around, and it's something to think about. It really is something to think about. Hey, Mikey Lito, how are you? Tom, I have to say, you were talking about how they were building this up, and this was a buildup that I could not have seen. Like I didn't see this coming. But this was a huge buildup. I mean, from episode 5, I would not have expected that we got this episode 6 so soon. But clearly, this was the story that they wanted to tell, and it had to involve Grogu in it. I was not necessarily ready to see Grogu right away. I kind of felt like he was going to be off for a few years, training and figuring out things. And like my poster here that's up on the wall has Grogu kind of, Luke has the kyber crystal. It's a yellow kyber. I think it's yellow. It's a yellow kyber crystal or a glowing kyber crystal. I'm not quite sure. It could be a white kyber crystal. And Grogu has the parts of a lightsaber that he's, I can't speak because I'm so tired, guys. I'm sorry. He has parts of a lightsaber that he's levitating in his little hand. And I thought that when I saw this poster, that it would mean that Grogu was going to, get a lightsaber. And of course, here we are in an episode where Grogu is given a decision, lightsaber and it's Yoda's lightsaber versus armor. So I'm really conflicted because,
And
not
that scene where he brings out Yoda's lightsaber mirrored in a way the scene where Obi-Wan gives Luke Anakin's lightsaber. But yeah, he's given that choice. Either you can have this lightsaber, but you have to stay and train with me, or if you take the gift, you will go back to the Mandalorian, and that'll be the end of your training. But for all we know, Grogu could have had all his training, and the little bits that Luke has woken up could probably click that light on, and we're going to see an epic Grogu Yoda-like thing where Grogu just, helps out the best he can, does what he can do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think that Grogu has already had all the training that's required to, let's say, make him to go maybe past being to be a legitimate. Because you notice that Ahsoka called him a Padawan and not a youngling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, he's a Padawan. Like he has to be a Padawan because he's probably been trained for 20 years in the temple. And, while he's still learning, he certainly isn't a youngling. And I was glad to find that out because it means that he's already at the next step or has done a lot of training as a Padawan. At least I hope so. And also, we know Grogu has this PTSD. And Mickey Rooney says Grogu's going to run with the saber and the chainmail. A few people have said that they predict that he's going to choose both. I have a feeling that.
As a matter of fact, that picture that you sent me of Grogu in the chainmail but he's holding a box. Looks like the same box that had Yoda's lightsaber in it.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see some things. Local Luke points out that Grogu has great feats already, healing and repelling fire and doing all sorts of stuff that we don't normally see. Um, and Michaelito says, I thought the episode was fine, but I think Lucasfilm is a little schizophrenic. Are these different shows or one story told from different points of view? And I think you hit it on the nail on the head. This is different. This is a story told from different points of view.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely. Mhm.
Darth Plato wanted to know how Luke even got Yoda's lightsaber, even though Yoda lost it in a fight with Sidious. I want to say that someone probably went in there because if Sidious went to go get Anakin, someone had to have gone in there. Yoda must have told him, "This is where my saber is." Oh, wait, hold on. Let me back that up. Strike that. How did Luke get Yoda's saber? Probably after probably found it in the room where he was fighting Vader. Probably somewhere around there. It must have been there. I don't know. It's a very interesting question.
I know that a lot of you who are watching are questioning how he got Yoda's lightsaber because in the comics, he has a fight with Sidious, and they do take Yoda's lightsaber, and it gets destroyed with a lot of other lightsabers. So this was a question that a lot of people are asking, and perhaps there is an answer somewhere, but I don't know. I would guess that maybe there was a lightsaber that was left on Dagobah. And, maybe that lightsaber was there. It could be a training saber. There's different types
Oh,
of lightsabers. And,
now
Luke might have gone back to Dagobah and picked up that lightsaber for Grogu. But this is just, I don't know if it's true, but it's possible.
now I know. I think I know why she called Grogu a Padawan. If you remember in season 2 of The Mandalorian, where she's sitting there with Grogu and she's communicating with him, I think Grogu may have told her everything that she needs to know. That he's a Padawan, he's had his training and whatnot. And I think he has that PTSD, and she told Luke, he needs to be trained. And the training is going to help open something up. It's going to bring out all that training in him. Because even
Yeah,
Luke knows that there's something that Grogu knows more than he's letting on.
I agree with
So,
you.
like I said, this show is very much a question inside of a question inside of a question. Or
Hmm.
if you really want to go meta with this, as they would say in Knives Out, a donut hole inside of a donut hole inside of a donut hole. It's very much question upon question upon question. Maybe we'll get some answers between this show and The Mandalorian and Ahsoka. I mean, I'm so excited for all these other shows now.
Oh, yeah. Toffee says, uh, I'm sorry. Loco Lou says, maybe it's not the same saber, maybe a new one. Yeah, maybe. And Toffee 20 says, imagine a saber fight between Luke and Mando, and someone says, well, he has a feeling that Luke would end up killing Mando. Darth Plato says, so Grogu is a Padawan, but can't talk yet? But the younglings could talk. This is a good question. We don't know how long Grogu would be a Padawan, probably for a long time. And this is very interesting. Grogu would probably be a Padawan for longer than maybe the remainder of Luke's life. And so that's something else to think about, is that even if Grogu stayed with Luke, there's no guarantee that Luke would be able to live long enough to finish Grogu's training, especially since Grogu did mention that he's had several masters already. So that's something that I also think is interesting. I think that Luke would just be sort of finishing Grogu's training for him. And also, it says someone, Dwayne Olson, was asking, did she know him in the temple before 66? I don't know. No one's ever said anything. We haven't gotten an
But
answer to that.
she's actually said he reminds me of someone I once knew long ago. And then she said that someone found him and saved him, but she didn't say who. So she knows, I think she knows that he has that PTSD, that he was saved by someone. And it was probably during Order 66, but she doesn't know the extent of what he saw. I
Uh-huh.
don't think anybody
Exactly.
does. And
And
that's why he's not talking.
yeah, maybe. That's a very good insight, and I hadn't thought about that. I want to answer something about to Loco Lou. He said he's curious about Din being force sensitive. Something I think people missed in the last episode is the way Luke looks at Din like he senses something there. Now, I want to address that because last week on Uncivilized Scoundrels, I brought up this notion of Din and being the sense that, the Force, perhaps he does have some sort of Force abilities. And the reason why really was two reasons. The first reason is that Din um, was around Grogu, who has incredible Force abilities. Like he has some of the strongest Force abilities, you know, for a Jedi, out there. And so Din now is, being exposed to what it's like to be around a Force user. Not most, there's not a whole bunch of people who have that experience. But not only does Din have, is being exposed to the Force through Grogu, he's also being exposed through the Force through the Darksaber. So now Din himself has to energize the Darksaber, which is what it does. It takes your energy, which energizes or responds to your personal energy. The Kyber crystal or whatever kind of crystals in there ignites the Darksaber. And, it's like, even though you may not be a Jedi, you have to be in balance. And, I think that exposure for Din might make him more aware or have a heightened sense of what the Force is and when, like when it occurs. So for me, I always felt that Din and Grogu had this connection that was stronger than a father and son even. I have a feeling that he can tell when Grogu was in trouble or at a crisis. That's why he went to go visit him there. This was a time where Grogu had to commit because Luke very clearly says it's almost if he doesn't have it in him to do this, become a Jedi. He very clearly says that. And that might have been before the chainmail showed up. So I think that Grogu's at a crossroads now as to what his future is going to be. And regardless of what his future ends up being, I have to be honest that Grogu is going to, or sometimes uses the Force for me to send messages or try to communicate with Din. Now, when he's around him, maybe not when they're separated by thousands of miles, but it seems like Grogu could always sense when there was danger and different things that were going on. I think that there is something to it. Maybe Din will never be a Jedi, but he might be someone who has a heightened sense or awareness of the Force, which is something that most people don't have because you're not going to be exposed to the Force in this way. And he has almost no choice because Grogu is a Force user. He can't pretend like he doesn't use the Force anymore. It's part of Grogu's life now. So that's my take on that. What do you think, Tom?
Well, I was listening to you, but I was also reading the chat here, and someone said, "What if Din is force sensitive?" Like they said that the dark saber was made by a Jedi, but also a Mandalorian. What if Din is that breed of Mandalorian?
He might
You
be.
know, he might be. And also, Darth Plato said, "Interesting take, Tom. If true, then Grogu has the same psychological issue as Martin Short's daughter in Three Fugitives, where she did not talk until out of the blue, something snapped in her and she started talking again. So maybe Grogu has PTSD so much, very much, that it's a psychological thing, and he can talk, but he can't talk. You know what I'm trying to say there with that, because how some people that some people that have PTSD get it so bad that they choose not to remember these things. That's why Grogu couldn't remember that stuff. He was choosing not to remember it, and Luke unblocked it. And that is why when Grogu comes out of it, and Luke goes, "Welcome back." I think Luke knew what he was doing. I think Luke wants him to not only remember where he's from, but try to remember what happened to you. How did you get from where you were to here? You know, how did you how like? And that's a true question. How did he get out of the Jedi Temple if he was even in the Jedi Temple?
Yes, he
And
was in the Jedi Temple.
how did they catch him?
He was in the Jedi Temple.
Right, and how did they catch him? Who had him when he was caught by that doctor? You know, like who had him, and how did they get him? You know, there's so many questions with this show, and probably it'll be worked out in season 3 of The Mandalorian. I mean, we got some really good stuff. Hello, Kiwi Chow.
Hey, Keely Chow. What's going on? This is interesting too. Loco Lu says, or the dark saber will balance out when Grogu returns. And Toffee 20 says, and Baby Yoda brings the balance. Darth Plato says, well, if Grogu is a Padawan and a foundling, then he is already a Jedi Mandalorian figure, and you don't need Mando. Yeah, there is some truth to that. However, I don't know whether Grogu can do certain things. Like, I don't see him sort of like flying his own ship and things like that. He has limitations. So he's not sort of like the perfect individual. There are certain things that we just haven't seen the Yoda species doing. And this is another very interesting question. You know, perhaps his abilities, his incredible force abilities, are balanced out by other things that he is limited to doing. We've heard the armorer say that the Mandalorian Din cannot train Grogu because he's too weak to be a Mandalorian. And you know, we really don't know the answer to this, but she seems to know. And you know, she knows so much. You know, I'm not going to say she's wrong, but you know, I have to question sometimes when she brings up, you know, she knows Grogu's limitations, and you know, she wasn't that surprised to see him. You know, I'm sure she's seen a Yoda species before. You know, it's going to come up again, and there's so much more to discover with this. And I just want to thank everybody for coming out.
Let's let me ask the chat one more question.
Uh-huh.
Do any of you think we're gonna find out who the armorer is? Does anybody here think that we might find that out, or will we not find that out?
I don't think we're going to find it out in the next episode, but I've heard a lot of people say that they thought she was Rook Cast, who's another character,
Yeah,
which is
so do
interesting.
we, Darth Plato. So do we. We just want to see that Rancor get loose. And you know, that's what we're waiting for in the next episode.
Yeah, they
Is
promised us
Boba
this,
gonna go
didn't they?
riding down that street with the Rancor?
Yeah, they promised us this. Loco Lou says something I have to bring up the legend of the Mythosaur. They said are extinct, and the only Mythosaur we see is Boba Fett's signet. Um, and you see it fast in the secret hideout above the armor box. Okay. And Mike Alito says not this season. Perhaps we won't see him ride it. Wow, wouldn't that be something? I was really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And Mickey Rooney does say Rook Cast. I don't really know much about Rook Cast, but you know, for some reason I thought it might be Sabine, Sabine Wren, but I guess not, because I don't think she's ever done any kind of training like with. She does make weapons though. Sabine is the only character I know that like makes
What if
created
that is
weapons.
Sabine?
I'm sorry.
That would be what if that is Sabine? That would be really, really cool. And
Well,
what a way to even just bring those even back together with that, you know? So yeah, I'm telling you, these shows they really bring out the questions and they make you go, okay, so what if this person's this and what if this happens there? Next week is anybody's game, anybody's answer. Who knows what's going to happen and how it's going to go down? But for one thing we do know is that it's gonna be something badass, and it's gonna lead into either Mando season 3 or Ahsoka or any of these new shows that are coming out, and we're just gonna have to watch. And definitely, I know once Mando comes back and once Ahsoka starts, we're gonna be doing probably more live shows for that. I think that's fun because when it's fresh in your mind, you can go anywhere with it.
Yeah, and Darth Plato says, "I doubt it's Sabine," and I get that. Like, I understand. For some reason, I thought it might be her, only because she makes weapons, and it's the only Mandalorian we've seen, like, in all this time, that actually makes weapons on the Star Wars shows. Um, Also, it says here, is Ahsoka, Michaelito says, also, is Ahsoka just hanging around on that planet? She does kind of pop up, and that uncertain feeling, like Luke had that uncertain feeling about whether he's going to see her. And I was like, gee, what if that is the last time that Luke ever sees, sees, Ahsoka? He seemed very uncertain, and I didn't like that, but it's okay. And it says, Michaelito says, I love how our sneaks her toys into the camera view. Well, I had to bring Grogu. I had to, Mikey Lito. You know that, because he has to make a choice. Look at his little face. He has to make a choice. He's like, what? I have to make a choice? Are you kidding me? And he's probably thinking, I'm older than Luke, isn't he? He's older than Luke, right? He's like,
Um,
I'm older than Luke. I
yeah.
can figure out how to get both of these things, right? Toffee 20 and who the other gentleman who said that, I can figure out how to get both the saber and the armor and get on out of here. So I don't know if that's what he's thinking, but
Now, is your mom has your mom been watching Book of Boba Fett?
no, she hasn't been. No.
Oh, then she's in for a surprise, then, isn't she?
Yes, she is in for a surprise. I'm going to let her watch it once all the episodes are available, because what happens is whenever we, yeah, the armor on Midnight Metal, that's true. Whenever I show her an episode from a series, she's like, "Well, when's the next episode?" And she just keeps asking for it, like, every day. So,
Yeah,
so I'll show her a
she's
bunch of them,
gonna
and I'll say,
love that the surprise with Grogu because I know
"She's
your
going to love
mom's a
it."
big fan of Grogu, isn't she?
Yes, she's a huge fan of Grogu. She's gonna love it. She doesn't know that he's back. So
Mm.
I'm gonna let her know when the finale comes out. I'm gonna say we're gonna binge watch, the Book of Boba Fett. And she'll say, is Boba Fett in it? Like she
Mhm.
actually asks those questions whenever you name something. Like if it says, the island of Dr. Moreau, she would say, is Dr. Moreau in it? Like, because she never trusts the titles of these movies and shows.
Yeah, well,
She's
that
like,
she got a good mind on that one because sometimes you never know, you know.
yes, absolutely. So I have I have to leave in 5 minutes, but I did just want to thank everybody who came to the stream. Tom Jr. Jackson, thank you as always for being there, collaborating, modding. I just want to thank everybody who showed up in the chat today. Darth Plato, Michaelito Toffee 20, as well as Dwayne Olson, Mickey Rooney, Loco Lou, and I'll see you, Loco Lou, on some of those uh, geeking out streams. Darth Plato again, who I was speaking to earlier. Keely Chow, thank you for coming. And who else was here? Ryan McFarland. And Ryan McFarland did say that Grogu chooses the armor. Thank you, Ryan. And thank you everybody who joined tonight. Fig Life, who came earlier here. Mech, as well. I hope I got everybody. TK592. Mark O'Brien. And I hope I got everybody. Dwayne Olson, if I hadn't said your name. Norwegian Kryptonian, who had to go to work. I too have to go to work now, so I have to get off the stream. But
And we
you
thank you
all have
all for
been,
coming. It was a great turnout, and you all had some great questions, and it was great to interact with them, and that even gave us more fuel to work with as well, and that's great, guys. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so grateful for you guys tuning in tonight or this morning or overnight. Thank you so much, Loco Lou. Thank you. Tom, thank you so much for your help in these streams. Thank you guys. I so appreciate it. You know, you guys can find me here on Positive Fandom. But on Monday night, you can find me on Streaming with Lorena Creole on Toxic Femmes. On Thursdays, you can find me streaming with the 1/6 Scale Man Network on Uncivilized Scoundrels. On Friday afternoons, you can find me on Midnight's Edge in the morning with Tom and Andre. And Friday nights, I stream on the Burnett Work with Robert Meyer Burnett. And on Sunday, you can find me on my live show, which is a Sunday brunch at 10:30 a.m. Tom and I might do another live stream. I'm not sure, but we may do another one. So just wanted to give you guys the heads up. It'll probably be after 5 p.m.
Yeah, and you
because
know
I
what?
gotta, you know,
We'll have all this will have sunk in, and we'll probably have more insight into the episode. And if
yes,
we do, you all come back, and if you got more insight and more questions, we'll try to do our best and answer them, and we'll just have a good
absolutely.
time. And
Any
always, guys,
concerns?
come and join the Sunday brunch because it is fun. You know, get yourself a little something to eat and watch the show and interact with us. You know, interact with RM, and you'll have a good time.
Thank you, TK592, for the conversation. We, you know, you guys are the best. You know, it's all love. Absolutely. We love you guys. And I look forward to seeing you guys again. Tom Jr. Jackson, you are the best. Thank you for
Thank you.
joining me here and making all this possible. And for all of you out there, always remember to please be kind.